Hello, family. I'm Janaya Future Khan, and this is Dark Woke. Just before we begin, I want to say thank you to all of the listeners out there, and a special shout out to the supporters that make this show possible. It means the world to me. If you'd like to become a supporter of the show, our Patreon is linked in the episode right up below. Every time I do that, I'm like, I'm going to nail it. I don't know why I can't do intros. It's the weirdest thing. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the episode, which is just, honestly, it's just every time I hear meat and potatoes, it's just cock and balls just comes into my head. And that just happened. I apologize for the unhinged start of this episode. I wanted to apologize for the lack of consistency, and maybe even a little bit more than that. I've not been handling my mother dying very well. She has congestive heart failure, as some of you know, and I can't go home. I can't go home and be useful in the way that I want to because I can't leave the country. They will not let me back in. I've talked to a bunch of lawyers, and I think we all know once I got denied citizenship under a more favorable administration, it wasn't going to happen. And so it's been really hard, and I haven't really understood that I was dealing with grief, and maybe was stretching myself too thin. And I've been able to leave here for a little bit, and get my head clear and recognize that I'm grieving, and dealing with feeling like I'm a bad son. So, yes, and I'm helping in all the ways I can. And she's still going, Esther. I told you, a Jamaican lady with a Jewish name, she's going to go on her own terms. But things just got a little scary, again, for a while. And I'll just say this, because I think, perhaps more than, it's always more people than I think can relate to this, is, I just imagined when things got worse, it would be something, I don't know, like, intubation, and no, she wouldn't be able to communicate, and hard decisions would have to be made. I didn't know that, things could take a turn for the worse while she was communicative, and um you know and really, my mom was a hair's breadth away from losing her legs, and I couldn't imagine, um that as a possibility, because I know how quickly her quality of life would deteriorate without having, the little bit of agency that she has left. And she's very protective of that, because that's Esther. But you know, uh, miracle. She's okay ish. She's as okay as she can be. And I get a little more time with her. I think it's been a challenge too, because I'm in the States, and so my mom's not great with any kind of technology. Even a basic cell phone is really hard for her to figure out how to charge. And so, has she's got a lot of mental health stuff, and I've just had to be in gratitude, that she's here, and that we're still talking trash to each other when we can, and yeah, just being taken to a different hospital where I don't have my friend who's a nurse, and getting information wherever and however I can with conversations with the doctors and stuff has been tricky. But again, I'm in gratitude, and that she's still here. And I'm in gratitude that I get to do this work with you all. And I think the other thing I wanted to address is there's been a lot of small adjustments and changes, but I think the heart of the show was kind of missing because I was emotionally shut down, which is just the human element. And thank you if you don't feel that way. But this is a moment where I am clear. And don't worry, it's not just me. It's not just me who's holding the reins, which is great. You should not at this point. I'm a light skin. We knew I was untrustworthy when this thing started, but Corey is on it, and he's with me, and on this journey with us. And honestly, the show's really about to lock in. I don't know if y'all will notice, because some of you will be listening more than anything, but we got some lights. Okay, we got lights, and let me tell you a little something about Corey. Okay, trying to capture a black faggot, right? High concentrations of talent and scarcity is you're going to go through about 30 to 40 Pokeballs. You're just not going to get them on the first tries, but when they're locked in, they are locked in. And Corey, thank you. And Corey's not going to let me get away with any more, you know, no more nonsense. We want the show out. Isn't that right, Corey? Yeah, he yelled yes because we found out he actually can't be on the recording simultaneously. So, but it was Corey who's going to also be pulling up the clips, and not me. Turns out I am a control freak. Anyway, I really appreciate your patience and your generosity, and the takeover is still here. We just, it's. I think it's time. I think it's time. And all the other elements of the plan are still in motion. It's just far more progressed, and I can't wait to bring you all in on some of those things. But yada yada, yada, these things take time. Now to the episode. We got to talk about Graham Platner. We got to talk about Platner. We're going to talk about why Maine is important. What's going on? Why is our boy in the hot seat? Who the hell is Janet Mills? Are the Dems going to flip the House? Basically, are we going to survive this? Are we going to survive this? And somehow I'm going to find a way to weave Tyler, the Creator, into this, because believe it or not, it all matters. The question that is sort of the theme of this episode is change possible? And what do we do when people who can do good now or do good now did harm before, right? What are our expectations? What do we actually want out of it? So we're going to be talking about that. And look, I also have had the immense pleasure of remembering what the work is, right? What the work is, what it looks like, and what it takes. So yeah, we're going to be talking about some serious wins. That isn't just the doomsday thing, because that's what we do differently. We talk a lot of trash too, but what we do is we remind each other who our heroes are. And believe it or not, that's actually true, whether or not the rotten establishment Dems or even the Democrats who are better, whether or not they're doing well, whether or not they're pissing us off, whether or not they're failing in their jobs. There are people doing incredible work every single day, and we're just not getting enough of that, even with demonic tools, because the tools are not demonic. We keep building our limitations into technologies. Okay, that's another conversation. We'll do a whole postmodernist, industrialist versus, today's era. Corey, feel free to jump up if I get too tangential. I'll see your face. But now to get into why he popped up immediately. I know y'all can't see it, but he's staring at me right now. Okay. I did not know anything about Graham Platner before this moment. I'd have some information on the house being flipped, but I want to tell you one thing. I had the pleasure of, listening to a talk. Several talks. I like listening to Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr. He's the preeminent historian in the country, and I'll tell you what. He's got no doubt about the importance of this election, the midterms in November 2026, as in the future of the country has a lot to do with what happens then. So we're going to start to see some serious dogfights, and this Platner situation is just one of them. So first, we're going to talk about what the key battleground states are. We're going to move into, right, why Maine matters, who the players are, a little bit of Tyler, the Creator. Oh, you're going to love that weave in. You're going to love it. And then I'm going to tell you some fucking wins that have happened to remind us what we're capable of, because we're gangsters like that. Okay. Right? Because in a way, the battle in Maine is really reflective of the battle for the future of this country. Okay. So what are the key battleground states? Why do we have to care? Okay. We're all going to die. Not literally, no. We're not all going to die if we do not win in the midterms, but I'll tell you what, the blow that it will have generational ricochet effects if we don't. I don't mind if we fight in hell, because we already are, but we should make it so that less people are suffering, which means we have to have wins. It means we have to build power, which we are capable of doing. Part of Dark Smoke's mandate is to remind us of that. So back in April of this year, April 2025, the DNCC, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, they put out a list, right? And you could, this article's on Politico, and you can see Hakeem Jeffries' stupid face. Shut up, Hakeem! Right? Where they break down the key states that they want to win in. We have to flip the House. That means that we need some seats, right? We need some seats. We need some chairs. We need to have some power. So of this list that they put out, 10 of those seats, right, are in states where Donald Trump won by 10 percentage points or more, okay? So we've got endangered Republicans, right? That's Mike Lawler, that bitch, Brian Fitzpatrick, that other bitch, right? Don Bacon, another bitch. These are 3 members, representing districts that Kamala Harris won in November. Do you remember when that was all anybody was talking about? Do you remember? Remember when Kamala Harris was all anyone was talking about? Okay. On this list that they put out in Politico, right, that came straight from the DNCC, it names several members that hold seats in states that are competitive every 2 years, right? So we're talking reps, right? Not just endangered Republicans, we're talking about representatives. So we're going to see a little bit of battle in Arizona, in California, right? There's going to be a couple of battles in California, Colorado, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, right? And Virginia. Here's the thing to note, and we can talk about this later, but of course the Republicans, the crooks that they are, they're trying to steal these upcoming elections so that no one can be competitive by redistricting. So gerrymandering. We've got to come up with a better word. It's just gerrymandering. It honestly sounds like fun. It sounds like a bunch of gays got together and gerrymandered down the street. We got to come up with something that sounds as dangerous as it is. What that means is, right? So sometimes after decades of black folks fighting and everybody else, right? The system will be like, oh, okay, cool. Black people's votes should be represented. Okay, well, we should draw these lines up and redraw them so that it's actually more inclusive. But they know, and they being the Republicans, because they've been doing this forever. And for the record, everybody does some gerrymandering. Just nobody does it as grotesquely and as unendingly and as blatantly for theft of elections to make them more unfair, to rig the system, than the GOP. The Democrats tend to redistrict in order to actually make it more inclusive, right? But evil's gonna evil. There's a huge battle going on in North Carolina right now around these redistricting things. And guess who is co-signing it? Guess who's giving it the AOK? The Supreme Court. The fact that Clarence Thomas, that raggedy bitch, is still kicking is unbelievable to me. Scalia, all of them. These people have there's just no moral compass. There's no scruples. They're scrupulous, right? They lack scrup. They don't have it. These are not good people. Anyway, the battlefield is not as big as it was. So remember, we're talking about something that came out in April. A lot has changed since then, right? They don't want the fights to be competitive. So that means that there's a higher concentration of money and anxiety and fear and campaigning that are going to be happening in the places where Democrats can still win. So, and the truth is, we can't just eke it out, the Democrats. Not in this elect, not in 2026, not with the backdrop of fascism. Oh, no. We need a sizable edge in the House, which means that we have to push deeply into unfavorable territory, right? We know that the establishment Dems are just useless, right? This gerontocracy and whatever the fuck Hakeem is. I don't even know what's going on with him. I don't. Um, it does mean, though, that for those folks that are battling on the ground, there's going to be a lot of information, a lot of attacks, a lot of confusion about how we should feel because there's a lot of money pouring in, and it's going to be folks attacking their own, which is exactly what's happening in Maine right now because this shit got so much more important. But before we get there, I do want to explain a little bit of a referendum model so that we can kind of a sense of, what might happen and what we know has happened in the past, right? So I'm a nerd, you know that. So, Tufte, 1978, wrote the political control of the economy, right? And it's a good way to understand something like House seat changes, okay, or congressional elections. So this is what he wrote in it. He observed that in congressional elections, and particularly at the midterm, right, there's a referendum on the incumbent administration's handling of the economy and other issues. So that's like that's a midterm exam. Think of it that way. And according to this model, right, and the London School of Economics is forecasting a Republican net loss of 28 seats, right? We need a lot, but this is good because a Republican net loss of 28 seats, when to change the House majority, only a net loss of 2 Republican seats are needed. So it sounds good. I like that. But this is not an exact science, right? This is not an exact science. Why is a place like Maine so important when they have so few seats, right? It's a big deal in the House of Representatives, partly due to its competitive second congressional district. But get this, it's small size. It only holds 2 of the 435 House seats, right? It's only 2 of them. But because of its politics, the nature of its politics, right? So Republican state currently, but one of its 2 districts are a swing district. So it gives it outsized importance, okay? So why is the House important right now? Before we get into the Platner drama, why is the House so important right now? Because we going dead if they don't win. We need some kind of political power. And we're seeing right now, we've talked about this extensively on the show, in a former iteration, but these nignogs don't want to govern. It's a grift. The whole thing was a grift. Like maybe goblins, right? Human mask wearing goblins like Stephen Miller very much has a white nationalist, white supremacist, hideous agenda that he wants to see through. He's just a avowed racist. For the majority of them, they're just like, well, racism, I don't really care about it one way or the other. I just want to take as much money as I possibly can. Yeah. And I believe some racist thoughts. But I don't need to live in a racist country. I don't even care about a mandate. I just want as much money as I can have. And I'm going to use racism to my advantage, right? So knowing that we have an administration full of grifters and racists who are gutting healthcare, destroying public education, dismantling the federal government, right? And are seeking to do so in a way so that it is irrevocably altered. So that we can never, ever put it back together again. That's the point. It's very like Humpty Dumpty. So the urgency of us winning matters. Right now, there's a government shutdown because the GOP has no interest in governing. They're going to keep trying to blame the Democrats. It's not really winning because the Democrats don't have any power, much to our chagrin, because how fucking embarrassing is it that the Democrats have no fucking power? But they're stalling. And one of the jobs of the left is to stop the consolidation of power on the right. Stalling is still meaningful. It is still a strategy. On the left, we can't just wax poetic and critique power and critique everybody for what they say and who they are. We actually have to build power, A, and B, stop the consolidation of power on the right. So If we get control of the House, it means that we are putting some brakes on Republicans' efforts to completely undo the Affordable Care Act, right? Allow for more tax cuts on the wealthy, and maybe curb some of the fucking attacks on activists, nonprofit leaders, nonprofits, artists, all free speech measures. Maybe we can stop the government in some places from throwing out green card holders for saying that Charlie Kirk was what he was. I know y'all know what I did right there. Okay. So what do we know? Well, during Trump's first term in office, Democrats gained 41 seats during the midterms. Right. So that was a big wave back into the House. We got a majority, but I'm going to tell you something. The polls are suggesting that we're weaker than we were 6 years ago, and we are. So we can't take anything for granted. That means that we have to pay special attention to what is happening right now. Now, who is Graham Platner? Who is this man? All right. He's a handsome man. I like him. Here we go. He's a veteran and an oyster farmer. He's a 41-year-old populist candidate, right? He's a manly man. What does his platform call for? What's he all about, right? It's one thing to just have a manly man, but what's the manly man all about? Okay. He wants to reform campaign finance and immigration laws, which means he doesn't want ICE running around. He's a Democrat, right? There's a sitting Republican in power right now, Susan Collins, right? I'm going to call her a dickhead. Susan Collins. She's sitting there nice and pretty in Maine, feeling really secure, right? I'm like, Stephen King, get her ass. Get her! Where's Cujo? You couldn't have dreamed these things up on your own. I know Maine is spooky as hell. It just feels like it. Sick him. Just get him, Stephen. Get him, Mr. King. Anywho. Right? He wants to break up monopolies. Oh, God, doesn't that sound good? Some antitrust laws, right? Something. Wants to rein in government surveillance. We love that. Strengthen unions. He's a union man, right? And let me just have a sip of water here. And he wants to end, quote, pointless wars in the U.S. Makes sense, especially as someone who served 2 terms himself. One in Afghanistan, which we know shit show. That's the only way to call it, shit show, right? America crushed democracies in places across the Middle East, including Iran, and then don't have an exit strategy. Extreme Islamists typically tend to take hold, and then they just bounce, and then they say they can't get it together. Well, they had it together, right? We broke it up anyway. So he sounds great. He looks great. He was very much a working man, kind of like Fetterman before Fetterman, got fucking weird. A little bit of that CTE. So why is everybody mad at him? Okay. Listen, and by the way, when I say everybody, I mean everybody. Like, the right is mad at him, which, I mean, is to be expected, but they feel some kind of way, like they have some moral arguments against them, which is like, how could they possibly? Or so they think. And the left is also mad at him. Okay. So last week was a big deal. It's like CNN, the Washington Post, right? All these mainstream news networks, they reported on various comments, all these comments that Platner made on Reddit over the last 12 years or so, right? And I promise you, when I tell you how we all came to know about this, you're going to love. You're going to love some host shit. But there's some stuff. There's some stuff, okay? So among other remarks, he definitely used the term, I'm going to say them, you guys. I just can't do this thing where it's like, that's not that word. He is definitely on Reddit. He has said retard. He has identified himself as a communist. So it's like, you see how this is getting to be a mixed bag, right? So one thing, he says something that the right loves to say because they're assholes. On the other hand, He's also identifies as a communist. He said all police are bastards, and you're like, ah. He said rural Americans are actually are racist and stupid. I'm doing a summary of these things. Minimized issues that those in the military have in reporting sexual assault. So that one, because I'm going to play a bit of a news segment in a bit. But basically, right, he said something pretty gross, which is sexual assault, and he said that those who are raped, quote, should, quote, not get so fucked up they wind up having sex with someone they don't mean to. We are going to unpack that, right? And then, most notably, is the skull tattoo. He's got a skull tattoo, right, which very much resembles. So he was a Marine. He was on leave. He was in Croatia, and it resembles. I didn't know this word, so apologies if I'm saying it wrong. A Totenkopf. It's a German symbol meaning death's head that was used by Nazi troops. Okay, so not great. I get that. You're not going to hear me say I don't get that. Okay. The Nazi tattoo was kind of funny. I do have to say, a little bit funny, because when he said he didn't know, I don't know that I fully believe that. I don't know that I fully believe it, and I don't know that it matters. I'm going to say this. I do care, right? I've heard a lot of people say, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if he said this or that. It's, this. No, I do care. I care that he said it. You want to know why I care that he said it? Because a lot of people are like, I care that he said it. It's not okay that he said it. A lot of people on the left, a lot of smart people are like, this is a problem. He has said racially charged shit before, so he's definitely gone through a full character arc in 12 years or so on Reddit. I do care that he said it, but then I go on. I care that he said it because he doesn't believe it anymore. That matters to me. It matters to me that somebody can change their mind. It matters to me in this day and age when every man on the fucking in this country, if you are under the age of 45, if you're under the age of 45 and you are a man in this country, it doesn't matter what your interest is. If you could like basketball, you could like boxing, you could like weightlifting, you could like bald men, I don't know, whatever, you are going to get red pilled on some level. It does not surprise me that this is a guy who got red pilled, right? Now, we can interrogate all kinds of things. We can, right? He's coming back from, we all enter conversations based on our experience. We enter from different places, right? There might be somebody out there that's a vet or gets it, says, yeah, this guy had PTSD and he came back to this country, doesn't give a shit about him. And like a lot of guys got angry at the wrong people, right? You could start there. You could start from the place. I think that's a valid entry point. You could say, I will never be okay with the things that he believes or he said about women and rape culture. That is, here's the thing. We can go into all of it. Here's what matters. Okay. I believe in Graham Platner's redemption. I believe in Graham Platner's redemption. I believe that people can change their mind. I believe that people can change, period. And I would rather somebody who said those things out loud and said, I don't believe them anymore, and show us what it actually means to get red pilled. You don't need to go blue pill and become a Democrat. I'm glad he's running. We definitely need more people running. This is a working class, right, white guy in America that had misogynist, racist thoughts. You can't be serious. In America? In this America? Yeah. I'm sorry. When I was going over the curriculum in middle school, when I was here in Plantation Middle in Broward County, did I miss the women and gender studies part? Did I miss that? Did I just have an old book? I remember being in high school, right? And thinking the exact same things about women and girls because it felt like agency. I was scared, right? And not even like, it wasn't something I thought about consciously because I was too busy fighting everybody. But I understood that there were victims, right? There were the victimized, and then there was the non-victimized. And for me, if like I had a very reductive logic. I was just like, yeah, you got to dress in big scary clothes so you look big and scary. If you wear smaller clothes, you're going to draw attention to yourself. That was my logic. So that by extension, that also was like women. It's you got to not dress this way. You have to not do this. You have to not do that. Yeah, you could say, well, you were in high school. Yeah, that's where a lot of the education stops for people, y'all. Welcome to the real fucking world. We don't have enough examples of what it means to be to actually take out the fucking incel microchip. That's what's pissing me off about this, right? He's got to do this weird apology tour. Everybody's mad at him. Zionists, Jewish people are mad at him, right? Uh, they're mad, because he had the former thing, but they're not mad about the other stuff he said, right? And a lot of smart people are like, well, if he could say this, what else does he believe? How about we lock into what he believes right now? And I think there was a real major opportunity missed. That he's got to do this apology tour, um, and explain himself, and got to show the tattoo, right? Got to show the tattoo and show that he got it covered up. And you know, I don't. I am interested in who people are now, but I want to complicate things because that's what we got to do here. We got to actually create arguments and make arguments and think. So I thought to myself, right? Before we go circle back to Platner, actually, no, you know what? I'm going to hit you with some Tyler, the Creator stuff because there's a comparison here. Okay? There's a comparison to be made here. I want you to listen to Graham Platner on MSNBC responding to some of the comments that he made and his defense of them.
For those of you who have read these things and been offended, have read these things and seen someone that you don't recognize, I am deeply sorry. It's something that I see someone that I don't recognize either, not in who I am today. It is somebody that I do recognize, though. Somebody who is struggling, somebody who is having a very difficult time settling into a society that he felt betrayed by and left behind by after having to go fight in Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm sorry for this.
That right there is Graham Platner, the breakout Democratic Senate candidate in Maine, challenging Republican Senator Susan Collins. He is responding to the discovery of old Reddit posts he made trashing police officers and calling rural white Americans stupid and in some cases racist. In comments reviewed by NBC News, Platner also wrote that instead of getting more conservative as he aged, he, quote, got older and became a communist, and referred to himself as a vegetable-growing, psychedelics-taking socialist these days. In other posts from 2013, he minimized challenges faced by service members in reporting sexual assault, writing, quote, you make a choice to consume enough of a substance to lose your self-control. So if you don't want to be in a compromising situation, act like an adult for F's sake.
Yeah. So I wanted, first of all, that's a man. But, something that's being fought regarding the Hill and politics is always going to be in pop culture, and it always has been in pop culture, right? What do we do when people were shitty? Right? And stop being shitty. What are our actual expectations? What do we need to decide and agree on the left? Because we don't have we simply do not have consensus about this. And we also always have to be thinking about timing. So before we jump into that, I want to talk to you a little bit about Tyler the Creator. What does Tyler the Creator, what does that beautiful ass, wild ass man have to do with any of this? Okay. Tyler the Creator and Graham Platner have so much to do with this political moment that we're in. One is running as a Democrat to oust a sitting Republican senator, Susan Collins, that raggedy, out in Maine. And you have one of the most celebrated artists of our time that is under fire for, honestly, the entirety of his early career was based on being an absolute shitfuck edgelord, right? The kind of edgelord that you could argue right? Helps streamline or mainstream this sort of edgelord incel like culture, right? Rampant use of the word faggot before he knew he was one, or maybe he knew all along, right? Who now makes unbelievably good music. His music was always good, unbelievably good. Whose politics have evolved, whose articulation of the dangers in society, right? Really focus on the cultural side have evolved. What happens when someone has changed their mind after doing harm, however we want to classify that harm, right? What happens when they become better? Do they have to be accountable? Do we expect that? Do we need that? What do we do? And how are these two related? They're related for that very reason. We can't seem to decide whether it's okay for someone to evolve after they've done things that we think are harmful. Why do I say that Tyler has done harmful things? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you a couple of tweets because this is very black. This is very, you got to be on black Twitter. You got to know black people to know this conversation. So let me just, I'm going to read some of them to you. So remember, Tyler, the creator, beautiful black man artist. I think he is bisexual. I'm like, I ain't never seen you with a bird. So I'm like, that nigga's gay. But you know, when you're hot, does it matter? You know? So this is what he said. This was, 2011 was a big year for him. He was really busy. Crackers, niggers, chinks, wetback. Come on, nigga. Let's fucking vote. Sorry, that's bad. A little bit funny. I hate Black History Month. Why the fuck do you have to fucking separate niggas still? Oh, it's paying homage to our heroes. Fuck that. Reference to, and what you're hearing though too is a lot of his comments, right? And a lot of his takes were really about shitting on black people and attacking black culture, right? You might recall a man named George Zimmerman who murdered Trayvon Martin, a kid in Florida, walking to the store to grab some snacks, was murdered by a gun wielding vigilante and essentially was able to walk away scot free. Right? So here's what Tyler said about that. If this Zimmerman shit doesn't go right, I hope blacks don't riot or go on to prove to others that they are animals and shit. Fuck that. I mean, he celebrated, Rihanna. He basically said Chris Brown was pretty swaggy when he physically assaulted Rihanna. He said that was, that was swag. And a lot of his lyrics had a lot to do with rape, references to rape. You know, oh man, it was an interest. It was a rough. He was, gosh. And the thing is, right? And the reason why many of you won't know unless you are black and deep in. Okay, Sula's now getting jealous because the 2.5 pound dog is on my lap, and Sula is the 79 pound dog who's just feels some kind of way about it. The dogs are dogging. Don't matter. Let's get back into this. Hold on, Sula, honey, go up on the couch. Up you get. I can't do that right now. Honey. You acting crazy. Okay. Sorry, y'all. I'm locked in. I am so locked in. So you didn't hear about it because the majority of Tyler the Creator's cruelties, casual cruelties, were geared around talking shit on black folks, black culture. Black women were a huge subject of his, undesirable, ugly, all that kind of stuff. And of course, his rampant use of the word like faggot in his lyrics. And so it was something that a lot of scholars and thinkers were writing about extensively. The hardest part, I think, was that his audience is white, overwhelmingly white and overwhelmingly male. So he really streamlined and brought in through Odd Future and other, and then going out solo. I mean, they were the culture. They were that crew. And now Tyler's grown and he's older and we know more about him, his reverence for Black musicians, Black art, right? And he's feeling some kind of way that his audience base hasn't grown up with him. They are still overwhelmingly white. So he's got a love-hate relationship with them. So why don't we I'm going to lock in here. Corey will queue up we'll play back to back the clip of that gives a little bit of context for what is happening and why, right? And then Tyler the Creator's response to these honestly, I think the first time he's ever really had to confront the impact of a lot of his earlier work.
Tyler the Creator is getting dragged at the moment because he liked a tweet calling out his white fans for loving him, but not really understanding or respecting the Black music that he comes from. Now, it all kicked off after his D'Angelo tribute, which made people start talking about how a lot of non-Black people consume Black art without actually engaging with the culture.
So sorry you had to listen to that accent. Go on.
People go back and dig up old stuff from someone who's here now. It's like, hey, what's your end goal? But accountable, what does that mean?
That's the part that I don't think.
What does it mean? Because if is the goal, you shouldn't do that. You should change and be a better person. I've been, not even me, but to whoever they're doing. Right. I've been a better person for the last 9 years. That was 10 years ago.
Can't say that he's speaking specifically to anything, particular, right? Around this work, but it is a conversation that's happening right now in the culture. A lot of people are like, you're digging up old things. You're trying to find it. What's your problem? What's your angle? Why are you doing this? I am not interested in punishment. I think it's a waste of time. I think that somewhere along the line, we lost the idea that we're not supposed to lose people, that people are supposed to change their mind, that they're supposed to grow. But then we say, okay, what happens when they do harm? Right now, before we get weird, just remember there's fucking tiers to this shit, okay? I don't know why we always go to the most heinous shit anytime someone tries to have this conversation. Most of the time, it is not heinous, okay? Most of the time, it's honestly just people causing problems, maybe being irresponsible with their platform, okay? Here's the facts. Here's the facts. When it comes to Graham Platner and Tyler the Creator, anybody else who's done some kind of, measurable harm based on things that they've said, right? Let people change their mind. Let them grow, and don't dredge up old things from the past to indict the person, but to really bring home how change is possible, how people can evolve. If the ultimate goal was to get the person to stop doing the thing, it happened. It happened. Am I frustrated and angry about certain things said and done, right? Do I love the fact that, I had to sit through. I liked Tyler. I liked Odd Future. I didn't like that shit. I didn't like how he kept punching at the Black community. It bothered me. It rubbed me the wrong way because his fans aren't regular like white boys. They're like the white boys who like to say nigger, nigger, nigger. And he gave them permission to. And, I think, honestly, Tyler is not, and this is the thing, this is a problem to do with A, the internet, and B, with how we do this bullshit with men in America, young men in America, okay? It's just, there's so many layers to this. Yes, patriarchy and misogyny are real things. The truth is masculinity is not an inherently violent thing. Right. And when we keep blaming masculinity, we say gender equals violence. Right. This gender is violent. This gender is not. It doesn't make any sense. We're not taking in age, race, class, all these other things going on. Did I love the fact that Graham Platner was a white boy running around white boy? No. But you want to know something? It's the way that this culture, promotes and creates conditions where attention is something desirable, and B, that we respond as strongly as we do, right? And the other side is them. I'm not so interested in, I can't control other people. I control how we respond to things. We want to be outraged. We want to virtue signal. I'll give you an example, and we're going to have a nice gigante debate about this one day, but we spend so much time across the liberals to the left yapping about things like, for example, the word retard, right? I hear that every day. I hear the word retard every day, and comedy spaces, on the internet, everywhere. It became something that people even said they voted for Donald Trump for. People were done with PC culture, they said, right? But we need to be asking better questions. Should that be the area of focus where people get to say, it's particularly liberals, oh, that person said that word, they should be canceled. But Section 504 was gutted and you didn't give a shit. Now, I'm not suggesting we mainstream the word retard. Not in the slightest. I'm asking if our response to outrage and the belief that that is, quote, the work actually does anything for the lives and the rights of disabled people. I don't even know that the majority of people knew that Section 504 was being attacked and gutted. And again, some of you might know from older episodes the fact that Section 504 was possible because of disabled folks and Black folks and Black disabled folks fighting together. So Brandon was a Black Panther in Oakland. He had multiple sclerosis. They got together, him and a band of disabled folks, and occupied an office building in San Francisco. Didn't have any AC, couldn't get food because federal buildings were not accessible, right? The Black Panthers in Oakland used their platform, used their resources, used the media to draw attention to it, brought food to them, made sure there was enough ice, etc., right? They're comrades. They win massively. We get Section 504. But what does accountability look like? Like, we all don't want the same things. That's just, we don't want the same things. But check this, like, I think of, when I think of like men and just people in general saying stupid shit, we all have stupid shit inside of us. That's why satire is so great, when it's great, racial satire in particular. Because one, racism doesn't disappear because you learn the word privilege or decided that you are a good person. That's not how it works. You have to continuously be in community with people, and you have to continuously be reminded that that stupid thing that's embedded in your subconscious that you learned by just growing up here is in fact stupid. And the only way we can do that is by mocking it, marginalizing it as a belief, filling it with new things, and also confronting the reality that it is in fact the norm, right? Why aren't we celebrating this guy? Why is he in trouble? Why shouldn't we create more conditions where people want to change? Rather, why should somebody be ashamed of that? I don't even need him to be ashamed. Look, I am positive that there were some people around him, maybe when he said these things, assuming that he also communicated them out loud. Maybe some women, Marines, I don't know, were like upset about this stuff. Sure, he owes them something. He doesn't owe me shit. I am glad that he changed. I think it matters that he changed. I'm thinking of Dean Withers, right? Dean Withers, Hassan Piker, right? Two of the most prominent yappity yap, never shuts up, boys. And keep in mind, I'm one of them, gosh, I can yap. Dean Withers was running around saying nigger, nigger, nigger when he was younger. Hassan Piker, everyone's beloved leftist, tried to be Andrew Tate back in the day, but he changed. And so did Dean. They changed. That's a good thing. It doesn't matter whether the changes were noble or not. What the fuck do I care if they were noble or not? The same way I don't need people to come out on the streets for noble reasons. Right? It matters that they change. And here's the thing. Here is something that is true, right? It's true. There are a subset of people in the industry, on the internet in particular, right, who are just, they want attention. It's not the best people who are like, I want attention. I had a thought in my head. Everybody should hear it. And then immediately goes to the internet. It's true. That's not the ideal person to be a leader. They're in need of attention in a way that suggests a character flaw, a major character flaw. But they're on my fucking side. And they change their mind. And I don't believe in punishment. It's punishment and shame. Those are Western morality bullshit. It's virtue signaling, and it is about tearing people down. So then the question is, what is accountability, right? What does that look like? So when it comes to Graham Platner, Tyler the Creator, Hassan Piker, Dean Withers, right? These are like 4 guys. What do they have in common? They were all dickheads. They also happen to all be men who, if they're not leftists, well, we know 3 of them are at least, right? Can't speak for Tyler, but I know he's not what he was at all. That's a reflection of the society that we live in. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. So my question is, right? We need to have this debate on the left, right? We need to have this debate on the left. I suppose before we ask whether or not someone is allowed to change, we have to ask whether or not they truly can. Can people truly change? Can anyone really truly change, right? When we think about the political reality that we live in right now, and you look at Tyler the Creator saying and doing things that harm Black community, right? Hassan Piker, who tried to be Andrew Tate before he was the left's, pretty man. Dean Withers, who was running around saying, N-word, 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 this, that, right? Graham Platner, who's running for the Senate in Maine to oust a Republican in one of the most important midterms, if not the most important midterm of our lives in November 2026. All of them have arguably done some level of harm. Are they not allowed to change? Can people actually change? And I'm going to tell you yes, because I've found my braider, who is a stud who disappeared. This is the most toxic stud that you can imagine in your fucking life. Strip club every other night. Red Lobster for bitches all day. And that's how they were referred to. And let me tell you something. That's a woman now. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I said, I heard my name. I heard Future. I turn around and I'm looking at this person trying to place what's going on. Oh, and then it clicks. And I walked up and I said, what's up, my nigga? And then I said, no, Future, it's bitch now. I was like, what's up, bitch? That's what it is now. You don't understand that this was not somebody that was ever going to change. Okay. This was somebody that was so gangster. Like, this was the final boss stud. Okay. Like, women's pants pulled down below, briefs out, ill-fitting t-shirt, like stud to a core, right? Real shooter. Didn't do the little pew, pew, pew sign. No, this. A stud. Couldn't even bring it. I was competitive boxing back in the day. Couldn't even bring her in my fights. She said, I'm strapped. I'm ready to go. I said, no, the fight's consensual. I'm not letting nobody put hands on you. What if I win? She was like, nah, I'm hitting her in the parking lot. And I was like, no, you're not, no. You know what? Audience members aren't allowed. No one's allowed to watch the fights. Nobody watches the fights. And that stud changed in a way that I just simply did not think was possible. Niggas can change, is my point. People be changing. And I want us to embrace that. And I think we have to. But, what does accountability look like in that? Well, if you were not harmed, if that person is not in your community, it is not for you to hold that person accountable. I think we actually need to understand that. If we want to actually embody non-punitive measures, right, we have to stop pretending that accountability is anything other than a spectator sport. We're not owed anything, but the people who were in that person's community are. And, again, there are tiers to this shit. But our inability to reconcile with the fact that the earth is round, right? The earth is, you throw people away, well, they come right back round again. And I believe we have a responsibility to have a hand in shaping the version of the person that comes back. Graham Platner, to me, is a success of the left. And look, my favorite argument. Well, I wasn't running around saying this and, I'm a white boy, or I wasn't running around doing that. And I'm black. Okay. I think that is a testament to your character. And I think that's great. Not everybody starts out decent. We don't create conditions for decent. We create conditions for shit. But guess what? Another word for that is fertilizer. Niggas can grow and people can change. And that's all there is to it. I want to be in a movement where that's possible. And more than that, if we actually want to win and be effective, then we have to do it as if change is possible. Whoa, I was going to yap about all of these wins, but I've been yapping for a long time. I really always think it's going to be 10 minutes. I do. I think it's going to be 10 minutes. But you know what? You didn't get the rest of the week. We are locked in though. Like we're literally, do you see how well lit I am? Thanks, Corey. I could afford some lights. Yay. I want to talk to you very quickly about some wins, right? Because I think we forget. I'm going to be so concise with this. I'm actually just going to hit. Because we have them and it's hard. It's hard because fascism, there's such a deep concentration of wealth and power. And you got to wonder, is anything I do worth it? Does it matter, right? I want to remind you always, that yes, everything you do matters. Everything. In the same way that people can do harm with simple statements, we can do an unbelievable amount of good. Lives can be changed because of that. But what about the work, right? I met someone named Beth Pratt. If you're a California person, you remember about hearing about P-22, right? The California mountain lion that was trapped and really isolated because the 405 is such a danger zone. We have destroyed wildlife, routes, biodiversity, and everything else by constantly infringing on the homes of wildlife. Okay. So she's a scientist and she's the one who helped draw attention to this issue. It took her 15 years to get one animal wildlife crossing. That means that there's a beautiful, overpass that's covered in lush greenery that animals can safely cross. It stops inbreeding because a lot of mountain lions in California are dying because of that. But it's not just for deer and mountain lions, monarch butterflies, biodiversity, right? This is something that Texas, Florida, and California agree on in a time when we don't agree on shit. The hardest part is getting the funding and getting the awareness out there on the need for that. It took her 15 years. 15 years. But we can start a war like this. But more importantly, right, or at least I should say maybe, it's more important, right? Yes, we know wars can start like that. And they do. It's disgusting. But I want you to think about what it takes to be that certain of something and to fight for it, to care that much, to see it through to its end. We just need to choose winnable campaigns and stick to it. What a beautiful thing, right? Royal Ramey. This is a guy who's founded the Forestry and Fire Recruitment Program. It's a beautiful black man with a beautiful black family. Was in prison in California, trained to be a firefighter, was one of the select few that were picked where he, received less than $1 a day, went through a 20-month grueling training program that near damn destroyed him. Got out and realized that none of the training that he had, none of the experience he had was transferable, even though California Fires has a 2,000 person firefighter shortage right now, right? These things are related. Think about the climate change realities, the fires where several California mountain lions died, right? Beth's work as a scientist and organizer, Royal's work, survival that comes in. But he didn't just say, okay, well, these skills aren't transferable. I don't know what to do. No, he spent around almost 7-8 years to keep working at it. Got the accreditation, got his, EMT, got this, got that, kept working, kept applying. And eventually he finally saw his dream come true. He became a firefighter with California Fires. And you want to know what happened? He walked away. He left because he knew that he had to start the Forestry and Fire Recruitment Program where they train people who come out of prisons to be firefighters. There's a 500-person waiting list. And they work on behavioral as well as the training and just about everything else. In California, I think we have a 40-something recidivism rate, right? 40-something percent recidivism rate means that people come out of prison, go back, and that's by design. For everybody that Royal Ramey trains, 7% or less recidivism rate for everyone who comes into contact with this program. Come on, right? These are nonprofits. The very things that the Trump administration is fighting. I listen to some of our largest speakers, biggest yappers. I don't hear them say shit about nonprofits or the leaders in them. It's just about the hill, and these fucking politics. There are heroes that are doing incredible work every day. I want to remind us of what we're capable of, right? You know what? I've got a bunch more stories, and I'm going to keep them in the back pocket for our next episode, but it is so important that we don't lose sight of what we're capable of. If only more people knew, or if only more people cared, or if only had more resourcing. I am so furious at times because I'm like, God damn it, we could live in paradise. We have mangoes. Right? I got stories about people who can clean up the ocean like this. I got stories on the medical industrial complex and all the things. You know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to do I'm going to do the medical one really quick. It's really important. Okay. So we got 4,000 medications, right? You want to talk about, fighting ableism. We got 4,000. This dog just farted on my lap. Jesus Christ. Oh God. Oh, he's 2.5 pounds. And I swear to you, this fart weighs more than that. It ain't right. Okay. Oh, you know what? Everyone is being tested. I will pass this test. We have 4,000 medications that were designed for 4,000 illnesses, right? We have 4,000 medications for 4,000 illnesses. That means that there's a generally agreed upon treatment plan for 4,000 illnesses. But we have 14,000 more. So on one hand, what a miracle of science, right? That we've done that, we've achieved that. It takes a lot of money to develop new drugs. It takes a lot of time, decades, to develop new meaningful treatments. But for these drugs, for these illnesses, they're more obscure, and there's no money to be made in mass producing something that's obscure. But the majority of people who experience illnesses that we don't have strong treatment plans for, like pancreatic cancer, right? That we've seen no major breakthroughs for, like ALS or like autoimmune disorders, right? Ties into the fact that women are half the percent of the world population, and we are most under-resourced, understudied, under-resourced, half the population on the planet, right? So I'm sure it ties in there. We got autoimmune disorders that nobody knows what to do. So enter everycure.org, right? David Fajgenbaum almost died 5 times. Almost died 5 times. 5. Because there was no treatment that could work. The doctors said, there's nothing else we could do. There's nothing else we could do. Sorry. And this is a guy who is on the path to becoming a neurosurgeon himself, or, he's a doctor. He's done his residency. His mother died of brain cancer. He said, I'm going to figure out how to help. 5 times he nearly died. The only thing that kept saving him was a cocktail of 7 different chemotherapies. He decided that maybe there was something in that chemotherapy treatment that he could uncover. So rather than doomsday over AI that is literally going to rob, our society of humanity and scrape out every piece of creativity that exists on the internet to pump out garbage nonsense so that a few people can make more billions of dollars on top of their other billions. What if AI could help in facilitating treatment plans for people who have been left behind, people nobody cares about? There's no money in it. There's no money in reapplying already existing drugs, right? Drugs that are mass produced. That's why we don't have treatment plans for 14,000 illnesses. There's no profit incentive. That's what every cure does. Somebody who almost dies 5 times who's got more, honestly, degrees in MBA. He's got all this shit. I couldn't even figure out all the names for it. That's the work that he does. That's what we do. That's who we are. That's what we're capable of. You know? And I'm going to end with this. You remember, like, I don't know if it was 12 to 15 years ago. Oh, yuck. So long. So I'm going to end. This is where I'm going to end. Okay. So long ago. Do you remember there was a story of this guy, this kid who said that he figured out how to clean the oceans? Remember that? I remember there being something in the news, right? He could clean the plastics out of the ocean. Everybody kind of made fun of him. Some people were curious. Nobody didn't know, right? Nobody knew if it was serious or not. Let me just pull this up because I want to make sure. Can you hear me type? I hope you can hear me type, because that would be so weird if you couldn't. Okay. I just wanted to make sure, right? It's called the initiative. The org is called the Ocean Cleanup, right? Boyan Slat. That's the kid. He's 31 years old. So he's like, I have an idea to clean up the ocean. There was all of this mainstream press around it. All this stuff happens. You get a big ship goes into the ocean, and he says he's going to clean it up, and it doesn't work. They get nothing. And everybody laughs. It was a public humiliation. 8 years later, they tried again. It worked. 8 years. 15 years to get a bridge, right? 8 years to get into California fire, and then decide, no, I'm going to take what I've learned and I'm going to make it as accessible to people as possible. Right? Somebody who almost dies 5 times and decides, I'm going to figure out how to make other people's lives better. And then a kid who gets publicly humiliated 8 years later comes out with a different prototype, and it works. And not only does it work, but they discover some other things, and you can go, on the ocean cleanup and read about this. They discover because they say, where are the plastic in the oceans coming from? Where are they even coming from? The rivers. Okay, cool. What if we could intervene before? What if we can intervene before the plastics get there in the first place, right? So they try it out. They make a model to try to catch garbage that's going into the river, all these plastics, and they do, and it works for a second, and then boom, it collapses. Year or two later, they come out again, it works. Not only does it work, but they figured out a way to save turtles who get caught in it, because turtles, for whatever reason, just be swimming right into that bitch. So they got a little buoy system, and the turtles just pop right up, away they go. And what did he discover with that, right? 8 years after a public humiliation, still developing, still working, because that's all science is, and so is activism, right? A series of failures and adjustments, because the winning is the endurance, the winning is the dream, the winning is the vision that you shouldn't have, because everything about this society is about stamping out your creativity, right? And your visions and your dreams. Through the success of this riverway, they discover that actually, if we built this across 30 riverways around the globe, we could effectively, and then did an ocean cleanup, we could effectively remove and eliminate 1/3 of the ocean's plastic pollution. You want to know how much it would cost? $300 million, a drop in the bucket for the very, very wealthy. That's all it would take. $300 million to clean up 1/3 of the ocean's plastic. So we're sitting here and we're like, it's over. We're doomed. This is terrible. Maybe humanity is irredeemable, right? Or maybe we just don't know the right stories. And we're not thinking of the right people, and we're not thinking of the best strategies. The point is to make us feel like nothing is possible. The point is to have us so obsessed about things we can't control or what's going on in the hill that we lose sight of what being alive is all about in the first place, which is figuring out who the fuck we are and what our purpose is while we're here. What do we want to do? Make it niche. Make it meaningful to you. That's what we're here for. And then make it so fucking irresistible that we all want to be part of it. I want to make it so the next time Boyan doesn't become a laughing stock. Right? I want to make it so the next time Beth doesn't have to wait 15 years to see a first wildlife crossing, so that we all can enjoy and marvel at its beauty, and so that we can all benefit from its biodiversity. Right? I want to know more about how AI was instrumental in finding treatment strategies for people that have long been abandoned and forgotten by the system. Right? That's why we're here. That's what winning looks like. There's no major profit incentive to this. It's because it's something they care about. And so they do it. This is what we're capable of, and this is who we are. So if the most toxic stud on the planet, the most toxic I've ever met, I had to transition mid. I was going for a daps, and then she hugged me. Like a girl hug, like a lady hug, an embrace, if you will. Right? If the most toxic nigga stud on the planet can change, we all can change. And we are. We are. We just need to make sure we're changing in the ways we need to. Fuck nihilism. Fuck ICE. Here's to redemption, and here's to our redemption arcs, and here's to taking control of our stories. So with that, I want to say thank you all so much. I love you so much, and I appreciate your patience. I'm on it, but I have help. And I had a really hard time asking for it, and then finding the right kind. But gosh, I'm going to tell you something though. The full court press that's coming soon. Woof, I'm telling you, I have been working tirelessly, even though I've been crashing out. So much crashing out, right? How about let's crash in? It's time to crash in. That's unhinged. Anyway, I love you all so much. Thank you to everyone listening to Dark Woke. I really hope that some of these stories did something inside of you and for you. I'm with you. I want to say thank you to Corey, my producer, our producer Corey, who, is keeping me on track. And also, like, it's starting to look like we might be a little professional over here, and it's about time. So, and sending all the love I can. So, love you, and thanks for listening. Peace.